what was 9/11 like being in the White House?
hmm Well, a lot of people may not realize it, but on 9/11, that evening, 9/11, 2001, that evening, we were entertaining all of Congress on the South grounds of the White House. The congressional barbecue was that evening. It averaged every year. It can flop around 2,000 plus 2,500, even up to 3,000 could come. This is the Congress, family, friends. It's a huge gathering for them all to kind of get together for once. Sometimes one time a year. Sometimes it may be in May, June. A lot of times I'll see it like early June, mid June, and other times it was earlier mid September before the weather might change a little bit. And for so that year, it was on 9/11. So we were in full production mode that morning, getting ready for the event that evening. And the head chef at the time, Walter Scheib, he had left the kitchen about 7:30. And I mentioned we had three chefs that works there full time, but on days like that, we had local chefs that we knew that we had on a clearance to come into the White House to um, to help us out with events. So we had about a dozen or so guys working with us. Some are from the military that they have clearances already to come in. The Army, mainly the Navy. The Navy has a big presence on the White House grounds. Under the Oval Office is the Navy mess. Also, Camp David is operated by the Navy. They do the food service up there. And the Navy also travels with the president when he goes anywhere. And helps take care of service and food issues that he's on the road. We don't travel with him when he's going to Japan for a state dinner or something like that. So we had a pretty good amount of guys in there working. I'm in the kitchen, basically running the show there, keeping the ball moving, and had a lot to do. And as I'm doing that, at like 8:30 or whenever that time magic time moment was, one of the butlers came in the kitchen and said, "A plane just hit one of the towers up in New York," and I'm there like, okay, yeah, all right. I mean, and he didn't say like a jet airliner. He didn't say like it was a Boeing. I thought it was a Cessna. I thought some little airplane must have got lost. I mean, well, that was pretty clear out there. But I do remember over the years they've had accidents with helicopters and things like that on some of the buildings in New York City. So didn't think that much about it. We didn't have a TV in our room in the kitchen, so I had to wait a couple of minutes. I was cooking something when I was able to stop what I was doing, and everybody was doing their thing. Nobody had any kind of panic or understanding of the situation. I left the kitchen. I walked across the hallway and down the hallway a little bit to our storeroom. In the storeroom, they had like literally a little 6-inch TV on the shelf. I knew they had it there. I said, the guys, they probably have it on. Let me go see what's going on and check it out. I mean, I just nonchalantly walked down there. But the moment I stepped in that room, and my head turned over to the shelf where that little TV's at. My eyes caught view of the TV. I saw smoke coming out of the one tower, and then I see this plane swing into the other tower. But I didn't know what I just saw. And I go, and the guys have been sitting there watching it for a little bit. I go, guys, how did I get a picture of the building burning before I got hit? I had no idea what I just saw. And the guy's sitting there going, I don't know, that must be a second plane. And so as we were trying to digest what just occurred, we figured out what did occur. That as the news reports started coming in, that it was a second plane. And as we're kind of dumbfounded now looking at the news here on this small little 6-inch black and white TV, basically, the chief usher of the White House, Gary Walters, he came up behind me. He went to look for me in the kitchen. They said I was over here. And he said, John, this looks like a terrorist attack. There's no party tonight. Let's get everything broken down and put away. And then when everything's put away, let's get everybody out of here. That's not a pass holder. Let's get rid of all what we call the SBAs, the escort workers. So I mean, now it's becoming real in our minds. I watched TV for another moment, going, basically, holy crap, you know. And then I went back to the kitchen, and the guys were just working along, and they had no idea what was going on. I said, hey, guys, gather around. Here's what's going on. So let's get everything broken down, put away, get everything in the fridges, wrapped up, labeled. And as soon as we do this, the day is done. And it wasn't like, get out of here in 10 minutes. It wasn't panic. It was like, the day is done once we get cleaned up. And so I cleaned up my stationery a little bit and got that put away. I let the other guys do that, finished up the rest of it. I was on family. If you're on family, you're taking care of the first family. So President, if you remember, was down in Florida, but Mrs. Bush was there. She was going to, I looked at her schedule that morning. She was going to be by herself at lunch around 12:15. So I said, I'm going to start getting ready for Mrs. Bush's lunch. So I cleaned up my area, put a clean cutting board. I set up my thing, I got some vegetables out. It was going to be kind of a soup and salad, something kind of light, not heavy because they're going to eat a little bit more at the event that evening. So I'm just kind of getting everything together and getting that menu put together for the first lady's lunch. I heard nothing where I was in the White House kitchen, but where Walter Schei was, the head chef, was on the South Grounds with his crew, and I didn't even go out to say anything to him. I'm just kind of just working my area here and keeping the guys focused on stuff. So I never went outside and said, hey, guess what happened, Walter? I'm just taking care of the main kitchen there, staying with my guys. So I heard nothing except for suddenly the door swung open and Walter came running into the kitchen. The head chef came running in the kitchen and he was out of breath. And he goes, the Pentagon just got hit. We could be next evacuate. And so
Oh.
I'm looking around going, oh, now this has become even more real. I'm going, holy shit. So I looked around the kitchen and I shut everything off, shut all the ovens, make sure no burners are going or anything. And we just started leaving. Well, we left our kitchen. If you go out of our kitchen under the north portico, that's our area under the north portico. If you turn left, you can head over towards the west wing and and so the fastest, quickest way for us to get out of there was to go towards the west wing and up to the northwest gate to go on to Pennsylvania Avenue. I come in on the opposite end of the house, basically catty corner. I park in the southeast gate and I walk up to the east appointment gate and I come in. That's how the workers park and come in. But for that moment, I had my plate. I had my chef jacket was still on. I changed when I changed my clothes up in the third floor for the changing room for the chefs. I leave my keys in my car up there, and I just bring my keys down with the kitchen keys. And no sense in carrying two sets of keys all day long with me. So I didn't have my car keys with me or anything. So we just hightailed it out of there. And as I walked in front of the Oval Office, and over towards right where you see them reporting from the White House, and you see the White House behind her, I walked right in front of that spot. And right about there, I turned over my shoulder and looked in front over the West Wing and the entrance of the West Wing, and that beautiful blue sky was clouded with black smoke swirling up into the air, and I saw fire, and I was like, holy crap, it was searing. And I was like, oh my God, is that the Pentagon? And of course it was. So that was the first opportunity that I had to see the the remnants of what just occurred. So as we dumped onto Pennsylvania Avenue, we were out there for a short amount of time when all the workers, we all started getting together, and the butlers were out there, and the maids, people from the usher's office, carpenters, electricians, plumbers. You can see all of us in our uniforms all out there, and we gathered there for a little bit. And then the Secret Service said, everybody out of Pennsylvania Avenue, into Lafayette Square. So we all left and went across there. We were still kind of together, and then they started pushing us further away. And as we started pushing further away, we all started breaking up a little bit. And after about half an hour or so, I didn't really see that many people from my kitchen. I had a cell phone with me, and we turned it. You couldn't make a call. All circuits were jammed, so I couldn't make any phone calls. And after being out there for about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, I said, "Well, I'm not going to get back to the White House. Looks like I'm not going to get to my car. I'm just going to keep walk. I'm just going to keep walking over to the old to Farragut North and pick up the metro and go to back home up in Maryland where I was living." So as I did that, actually I started at Farragut North, and there was a lot of people that were going down in that metro station. I said, I really don't feel like going underground with a lot of people, so I just kept walking up Connecticut Avenue. The next stop was DuPont Circle. There's a lot of people going down there. I didn't feel like going down there either. And that's a very, very deep metro station. It's the deepest one in the whole system. And I said, I'm just going to keep on walking. There's nothing, I'm not pressed to go anywhere. So I kept on walking all the way up. And the next one on the other side of Rock Creek Park was the Woodley Park and Zoo. And so after I got to that point, I went down below, and there was nobody there. I bought a ticket. I got down to the platform where the where you can just where they still had payphones. So I picked up the payphone. I called home. That was the only way I could get hold of my wife and say, hey, come pick me up at the Shady Grove Metro, and we'll kind of go from there. And so half an hour or so later, I'm over there at I'm at the Shady Grove Metro, and then my kids were in grammar school at that time. One was like in second grade, and the other was in like fifth grade. And so we went over to pick them up, and got that was the first half of my day that day there.
Wow, wow. When did you guys return to work? Did you? I imagine it wasn't the next day. It must have been a few days later.
We did the later that day. It was like probably mid late afternoon. The head chef called me and said, "Hey, I got myself back inside the house here. I got myself back inside the White House here, and I'll take care of the family tonight. Just get back here first thing tomorrow morning." So we did that, and so the next morning, the first metro leaves at 5:30. I was there like 5:15. My wife dropped me off there, and waited for the first metro to go down into D.C. And there was nobody there. And usually it's pretty busy, and so that was kind of an eerie ride to go into D.C. with hardly anybody on the train. We were it's just nobody was getting on all the stops. I was on. That's the end of the rail stop is where I was at, and so I went all the way down to Farragut North and got off there, and then walked over to the White House, and it was like a Sunday morning, and of course it was a Wednesday morning. That there was not that much activity going on, but I got into the house. Well, the first thing we did was they said we have all this food, we don't want to go to waste, so somebody from the Park Service gave us a truck, and we went and filled it up with the food, and we went over to Fort McNair and Fort Myers, and we just gave it to the cooks there. Here, just do something with it. Do whatever you want with it. And then I came back to the house, and we just had meals for the family that day, and that was it. But our social calendar was wiped out. We had everything that was on the schedule was wiped out. There was no parties.
Mm.
We were just pretty much cooking just for the family every day at that point in time, except for in the weeks afterwards. Excuse me, we'd have like one or two chefs. I mean, one or two heads of state be coming in and just talk about the situation. So there were small level lunches or dinners, and sometimes up at Camp David too, of about 15 to 20 people on average, and we called them working lunches or working dinners, and that was it. That's the only thing that occurred through September, October, November. But as we got into November and in mid-November, the First Lady Laura Bush said to us, we all experience something just horrible, but we need to get back to doing the business that we do here at the White House. And we can't think of a better way to do it than the Christmas season. So the Christmas season itself is what kicked off our social calendar again. And we didn't have as busy a Christmas season as we normally do. We had a busy season, so we did all that. That was the first events that we did. And then as we got into January, February, March, boom, 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 things started populating on our schedule for making menus again and planning. We didn't do any state dinners for a little bit. I think actually the first state dinner that George Bush, W. Bush had was the day before 9/11. It was the 9th or 10th. We had the N. Fox, the president of Mexico. He came in. That was the first state dinner, and then I'd have to look back and see when the next one was. It took a little while to get um, the next one going after the whole 9/11 ordeal.